Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about my makeup collection and reviews, and we're going to be talking about my setting powders. So I have a bunch of setting powders or powders that can be used to set your foundation and concealer in place. Right in here, none of these powders I use just as a foundation powder. I use all of them purely just for setting my foundations and concealers. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So I'm going to get the most expensive one out of all of these out the way. I would consider all of these to be drugstore powders. They're all in that same price tag, but this one's the most expensive one out of them all, and it's the RCMA no colour powder, which looks like this. I'll try and do the whole picture things in the middle of my face so you can't see me talking. But basically, this is a loose powder, and I just love it. It's exactly the same, more or less, if not better, as my NYC powder, which is NYC is being discontinued in the UK, and I'm pretty sure it's being discontinued in America as well. It doesn't dry me out unless I'm like super baking with it, but if I'm just using it to set my foundation and concealer in place, it's pretty good. And if you buy this powder and you love it, you're literally not going to need any powder ever again, because it's going to last you forever. Now the next powders that I'm going to get out of the way are the powders that are in palettes, and the first one I want to talk about is the Makeup Revolution Iconic Lights and Contour Pro palette, which looks something like this. It looks like this on the inside. These two shades on the outside are meant for highlighting because they're shimmery, and these two in the middle are meant for, or at least I'm assuming, are meant for setting your foundation and concealer in place. The banana looking shade I don't use because it's too dark for me, it doesn't go with my skin tone, but this one right here I do. As you can see, I've already hit pan on it. It's pretty good. It doesn't really prolong my makeup, but it gets the job done. It stops my makeup from creasing, and if you buy this palette, you can therefore use it for contouring, highlighting and everything that you would need it, and so I think it is a good value for the palette. The other product that I want to talk about is from Freedom. I have it in their magnetic palette like this, and it is basically their HD Pro Refill Pro Contour 1 powder, and it looks something like this. And again, it's the same case as with the Makeup Revolution palette. It sets everything in place, it does what it needs to do, but I just don't notice it prolonging my makeup. But if you want to build your kit and start learning how to contour and stuff, and you don't want a palette that has some shades that you might not even ever use, I would recommend checking this out. Now I'm gonna get on with talking about all the rest of the loose powders that I have before I move on to the compact powders or pressed powders. First one I want to get out of the way is the one that you basically can't really get anymore unless you go on Amazon and buy it in bulk, and it's the NYC Smooth Skin Loose Face Powder in Translucent, and it just looks something like this. I'm almost out of it, but I'm okay with that because I've got the RCMA one, and it's basically, as I said, the same thing. It doesn't dry me out. I do have like a combination skin, but what I mean by that is that when I'm applying my foundation and concealer, my skin is dry, but throughout the day it gets oily. But basically it doesn't dry me out unless I'm super baking with it, and it keeps my oils at bay, not throughout the entire day, but for good enough time for me to not be mad about it. The next powder that I wouldn't recommend is the Technique Soft Focus Transparent Loose Powder, and it looks something like this. And this is basically almost full because I've tried it only twice on 2 different occasions, and it's just super dry, and I don't know what it is about this powder. Like, with the fact that it's also super messy, it is also super dry, and even when I'm just like setting my concealer in place, it still dries me out and makes me look cakey and flaky almost. So I wouldn't recommend this one, no matter how cheap Technique actually is. The powder that I want to talk about I quite like, it's the Ready Set Go by Lottie, and it's a matte translucent finishing powder in True Translucent. And obviously, because I am super pale, I can't tell whether it's actually translucent or if it does actually have some sort of colour. I know that the Match Perfection by Rimmel that I'm going to talk about does add a colour, but this one seems fine. It's just, this one I will only use on the days when I know it's going to be super warm outside and I want to keep my oils calm and just not be super oily mess. So I would usually use this because it is super mattifying. I wouldn't bake with this because it is quite drying, but it does a pretty good job at keeping the oils away from my face for a pretty good length of a time. The last loose powder that I want to talk about is the Rimmel Match Perfection Silky Loose Face Powder, and this one's in a shade 001 Transparent. It's supposed to be transparent, but compared to all my other powders, this has definitely got some colour to it, and it doesn't make me look like a ghost when I put this on, no matter how much I put it on, no matter how much of it I put on. I haven't noticed it prolonging my foundation and concealer too much, but I mean it does. It does the same amount of stuff that my RCMA or NYC powder does. But other than that, this powder is actually less drying than the NYC or RCMA. So if you have too much of a dry skin, I'd recommend going for this. Now moving on to my pressed powders, I firstly want to talk about the Rimmel Stay Matte Long Lasting Pressed Powder in 00 Transparent. They look like this. This is my backup of this one because I've already hit pan on this one and I can't get too much more out of it. I love the smell of it. It kind of reminds me of sunscreen. And basically this is usually my go-to powder when I want my face to look good. It mattifies and I can put as much powder of it as I want. I can reapply it throughout the day, and no matter what I do, it does not make me look cakey. So I would definitely recommend checking out this powder if you haven't already, which I'm sure you must have done because every YouTuber raves about this powder. Next powder I want to talk about, and I perhaps wouldn't recommend it to darker skin tones than me, or maybe a couple more shades darker, is the Essence All About Matte Fixing Compact Powder, and it's basically a white powder. It does mattify, it does prolong the makeup for a few hours at least, and it doesn't make me look cakey, it's not too drying. But the issue with this one is that it definitely is white. Like, I don't know if you can see on my fingers, and that's after a while of rubbing on my fingers. It's just, it leaves a white cast on you. So if you like using a lot of powders, or if you need to use a lot of powder throughout the day, then I wouldn't recommend using this one. But other than that, I'm pale throughout the winter. I'm like palest shade of the Kat Von D Lock-It foundation, so you can get a rough image of the fact that this doesn't really show up on my skin. But now if I were to use it, I'd look like a ghost. The next powder in my collection is the Collection Press Powder in 18 Ivory. It looks like this. I have horrendously hit the pan on this one. I should probably declutter it now, considering that I can't really get much powder out of it. But for whatever reasons, I seem to have liked this powder. I think this was one of those powders that if I was going if I was going to the shop or just going somewhere when I wasn't bothered too much about my makeup, but I wanted it to still look semi-nice, I would throw this one on, and it seems like I do go to the shop a lot. But it doesn't make my skin look patchy. The colour actually fit pretty well, considering that most of the ivory things from Collection make me look too orange, like a Oompa Loompa or something. Oompa Loompas weren't orange, were they? Never mind. Anyway, but I liked it, and as I said, it's good enough for if you're just going out for some errands, not something that I'd throw on when I'm going for an entire day at work. But if you're just going to school, or if you're just going for the errands and you want a special powder for just errands, then I would recommend this. Second to last powder in my collection I want to talk about is the e.l.f. It's like a colour correcting powder in Cool, and it looks like this. And I've stumbled across on this, and I actually really like it, and it does actually help with changing the undertone of my foundations. So like one of the Bourjois foundations that I own are too pink for me, but when I mix it with this, it seems to be just the right undertone for my skin. It doesn't look cakey, it doesn't dry me out, and the best thing about it, for me anyway, I consider it as the best thing, you can put as much of it on as you want. Like, you can swallow your brush a lot in it, and not that lot actually comes out. So I like it, and I think you definitely should check it out. Plus I adore e.l.f. packaging, so yeah. Now the last powder that I would like to talk to you guys about is the Bourjois Healthy Balance Unifying Powder that mattifies and gives like a natural healthy glow, and mine is in a shade 52 Vanilla, and it looks something like this. And you open it up, you've got the powder, you've got the mirror, you know the jazz, and this matches me really well. I didn't expect it to be honest, but it might have something to do with the fact that I have a little bit of a tan, so we'll see how that matches me in winter. But I really like this powder. There's something about this powder. It doesn't make me look cakey. It's not drying, even though it mattifies. It's like a weird combination that it says like 10 hours of matte finish, but also natural healthy glow, you know. But it actually does. It really does. Like my when I put my foundation on and concealer, you know, you got that wet slidey look on your face, and I put this on and everything looks great. But then when I look in the mirror, before I apply and highlight, obviously, I look in the mirror and I'm like, but I'm still glowing. Like, it gives you that nice glow within, but like a healthy glow, you know, like not the glow, like usually when you set your foundation with powders, it can kind of make you look unhealthy. It can make you look too powdery, too cakey. But this actual particular powder doesn't do that. It actually sets your foundation and concealer in place, but still makes you look really healthy without even having to apply that highlighter in places. So, I mean, it's not even that expensive. If you catch out one of those deals in Superdrug where they do like spend X amount of Bourjois and you'll get free this, or 2 for 3, or you know, that kind of deal, then it really makes it worth it buying this powder and checking it out for yourself. And that's it, guys. That's all of my setting powders from my makeup collection. I hope you enjoyed my mini reviews. I mean, I know they're not super detailed, but if they were to be super detailed, then we'd be sat here for like hours, to be fair. I just hope that some of this information that I've told you about these powders were of some help to you. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you if you have subscribed, or if you're thinking about subscribing. At the moment I'm trying to upload every single day, but I'm having some internet issues, so my videos tend to get uploaded super early in the morning. Like my not modern renaissance, my subculture palette got uploaded at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, oh, okay. But anyway, I'm trying to upload every single day other than Saturday and Sunday. Hope you're having an amazing day wherever you are in the world. Don't forget to comment down below if you tried any of these powders, or if you have any setting powder suggestions to me. I always love trying out different powders, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!